It's the summer transfer window and everybody's trying to make sense of exactly what Manchester United are about to do. So I put out a tweet saying, United fans, give me your summer transfer window hot takes for a new video I'm working with. And some of the responses have absolutely blown my mind. So it's only right we go through it. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Let me know your biggest Manchester United summer transfer window hot takes down below. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and or on socials to keep up with me. Now, big up to Saeed for the first question, which is, will Manchester United regret not selling Bruno Fernandes? Well, I think we'll only have an answer for that the more we get into the next season. But speaking from a financial standpoint, the fact that Manchester United are putting a lot of emphasis on the need to sell players maybe after they get the Mbeumo deal done, maybe kind of suggests to me that financially they find themselves in a little bit of a limbo. There's not really a lot of offers approached so far for Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, Marcus Rashford. The only concrete interest for Anthony is from Real Betis. There's a lot of players on the chopping block, including Tyrell Malacia, and there's not really any cemented financial opportunities for Manchester United. So maybe they might regret it 6 months down the line when they didn't get the opportunity to maybe bring in a quality striker, or they didn't get the opportunity to bring in a quality goalkeeper or some quality backup defenders or some midfielders, etc. Maybe they might regret it, but also they might actually be pleased with it depending on how Bruno Fernandes does for Manchester United next season. So I'm going to say that is 50-50, but more so not because of the player and the type of player he is, but the financial opportunities that maybe would have arisen had Manchester United sold. The next one is from Yahya, who says, if we don't get Ekitike, we get Mbeumo. I wouldn't mind Xerxes as a starter next season as long as we use those funds to buy some competent midfielders. Now, similar to the previous point, Manchester United's financial position after, I think, signing Mbeumo is going to be a sell to buy situation. Now, depending how many players they offload, I think that will justify how much that they can spend after signing Mbeumo. Now, this is just with the assumption that United get that deal done. With a midfielder, I think in terms of the affordable midfielders, the immediate game changers, the immediate floor ceiling raisers at for Manchester United, I'm talking about the idea of Carlos Baleba. He's not going to cost anything less than 70 to 80 million. However, in my opinion, I think that there's midfielders in Europe that Manchester United can go out and target. For example, Lamine Camara, a midfielder that I've been a fan of since the AFCON under-20 back in 2023 when I first saw him. Now, he is a Carlos Baleba type of signing, and what I mean by that is the fact that that is a type of signing that Brighton or Brentford or Fulham or Wolves would do. Sign a player from a mid-table European team that you need to develop, sign him for affordable fee, sell him on for big one. That is what Lamine Camara is right now. So I think what Manchester United need to do is cut the middleman. Rather than signing a fully fledged player like Carlos Baleba, who will cost you probably north of £80 million, you go and buy Lamine Camara for 45 million and then develop him. Now, that requires patience. That requires patience from Manchester United. It requires patience from Manchester United fans as well. But I think Lamine Camara is that changer for Manchester United. And he's quality. I watched him at AFCON under-20, fortunately for me. Then I watched him again at senior AFCON 9 months later. And then I watched him when he joined the European team. And I've kept track of him. And I think Manchester United should have brought him straight off the back of AFCON under-20 because he showed to me that he was a star at that point. But that's just my opinion. So I agree with Yahya to an extent on this point, in the fact that yes, Manchester United, maybe if they don't sign a striker, they can go out and sign a quality midfielder, and we can maybe do with Joshua Xerxes. That's also with the assumption that Mbeumo and Cunha offer the goals as well. So again, similar to the previous one, I think that's 50-50, but I don't think that's too much of a hot take. Now the next one is from the MUFC analyst, says we should cash in on Dalot. I don't think Man United is in a position to cash in on too many players. And when you talk about the idea of Man United cashing in on players, I think there's some distinct players that Manchester United need to cash in with. If an offer comes for Diogo Dalot north of 30 million, I think United should sell him, because that offer probably won't come back again. But right now, Man United need the quality in depth because they are not going to strengthen in certain positions. And I think right wing back, left wing back is one of those situations. Diogo Dalot can play across both of them. I'm not saying that he's a star on both sides right now in this Amorim system. But even if Ruben Amorim was to leave Manchester United, you don't want to get rid of all your players that play naturally as fullbacks. You don't want to do that. So I don't think Diogo Dalot should be sold. But is that classed as a hot take? Let me know your thoughts down below. The next one is from S, who says, all in for Sergi Gracias. I think the ship has sailed for Man United to sign Gracias. Man United should have, if they wanted Gracias, they should have signed him last year, January, when he was available for 17 million. Instead, he ended up going to Dortmund. One thing about Man United and Man United fans is that they will see a player playing for maybe a less visually attractive team and maybe turn their noses up on him. But the second that that player goes to a top-sided team, you will think, okay, he's a good player because he's performing well. Gracias was performing well before he went to Dortmund. But because he wasn't playing for a superstar team, a well-renowned team in Europe, people didn't like the idea. And also people didn't like the idea of signing another African player that would depart for AFCON. And they didn't like the idea of his injury record. I liked Sergi Gracias. I said United should have signed him in January. I don't really think that's a hot take. But I also don't see Dortmund selling as well. And definitely not for a reasonable fee. Next one is from Tommo, who says United should have sold Bruno and brought Grealish. This is probably the first hot take of the video. That is not even a hot take. That is a spicy take. I don't agree with that at all. Not the part that maybe Bruno should have been sold. I think the jury is still out on that, but I don't think United should go anywhere near Jack Grealish, if I'm being honest. There is no way at all anybody believes that. But that is definitely, in my opinion, that is definitely a hot take. Next one is from Gus, who says, we will struggle to get more than 80 million total for Garnacho, Anthony, Rashford and Jadon Sancho. Let's do the mathematics very quickly. Anthony has a price tag reportedly of about 35 million. Rashford has a price tag of about 40 million. Sancho has a price tag of about 20 to 25 million. Garnacho's got a starting price tag of about 50 million. Manchester United are probably hoping to raise just more than 120 million across those four players: Garnacho, Anthony, Rashford and Sancho. But Gus, however, believes that we won't be able to get anything more than a combined 80 million. That is probably a hot take. I think that is a little bit of a hot take. To sell four players for a total of 80 million, I think that's really bad, and Manchester United will probably be lowballing themselves. I could agree with you if you did say that Manchester United might struggle to sell one or two of those players, because I definitely think that. But if Man United are able to sell all four of them, I think that they can get at least near enough to more than 100 million. That has to be, I think, the benchmark. And majority of that transfer fee will probably come in from the sale of Garnacho if Man United are able to sell him. I don't think Man United will lower their fee for him. If anything, I think they might accept a low fee for people like Jadon Sancho. I think they might lower their expectations for Marcus Rashford. With Anthony, I think they might be looking maybe more so to a loan. If they're not able to get a permanent transfer for him, they might be looking to let him go on loan again. But I don't think if Man United sell all four of those players that they sell them for less than 80 million. Big up to Amal, who says it will be cheaper and more efficient for us to get new manager than to buy players to play jigsaw and try fit them into Amorim's system. Yet despite all of these possible managerial scenarios, Onana has to go. So Onana has to go regardless of what happens with the manager, according to Amal. But it's easier to buy new. He's saying that it's easier to get a new manager rather than actually rebuilding an entire squad. And I agree with that. I don't really think that's a hot take, and I don't think a lot of people will either disagree with that as well. It will always be cheaper to get a new manager than it will be to restructure and refurbish an entire squad, and then to maybe do it all over again. And that is why, you know, I think Wilcox and co, you know, the football minds at Inos that have been brought in, I think that's why they have been brought in to try and develop this kind of transfer strategy that will allow them to utilize players across multiple different managers and not just the manager at the time. So I don't really think that's much of a hot take. Big up to Beard and Banter, who says Ineos are taking everyone for fools. Other than Cunha, who is a dead certain, they have widely mishandled all other transfers and they have no clear plan who they are going for and what positions are priority. They are planting seeds of failure and acceptance with Onana staying news. And I agree with that to an extent. I don't think it's really much of a hot take. What I will say is that I think that the stories being planted out there is to cover all the bases of if Man United do replace Onana or if they don't. Same with Højlund, same with Xerxes. We've seen stories being planted out regarding both of them about the prospect that United are warming up to the idea of them playing as the starting striker if they're able to get Cunha and Mbeumo. But for me, the jury is still out on Ineos. And that's just my personal opinion. I'm still yet to see anything similar to Ruben Amorim that is enough for me to buy into. And for that reason, with me, the jury's still out on Ineos. So I don't really think that's much of a hot take. Another hot take is from Drew, who says we should have sold Bruno Fernandes. Again, another one that I don't think is a hot take. I think a lot of you would find a lot of people that would definitely agree with that opinion. Last but not least, Xerxes 9.5 says, Dusan Vlahovic for 21 million or better. Swap Sancho for him. I think that's a hot take. I don't think Dusan Vlahovic is what United need. It's not me saying I don't think he's a good player, but I just don't think he's what United need. For me, I think my preference has always been right now, especially with the front line, if you want goal scorers, you want immediate impact, you want immediate threat, you want immediate game changers, shop in the Premier League and find players in the Premier League that have shown you it on a consistent basis. With the inclusion of someone like Ekitike, the reason why I'm not really all for it is because he hasn't done it on a consistent level at Frankfurt. So again, there's not really anything consistent that you can identify in his season-on-season improvement. Vlahovic for me has always been a very unusual type of striker. I never thought he was an elite striker, but I didn't think he was the worst, similar to, you know, we've been linked to Gonzalo Ramos. But for 21 million, I don't know if a position, for me, the striker position is not something United can sell themselves short on. They can't just take a shortcut and buy a cheap striker like Vlahovic if he was available for 21 million. They have to go out for me and buy the best of the best. You have to, like, Man United cannot sacrifice that position anymore. You need to go out and buy the best of the best. The player that is the best right now, that is available on the market. Pay the money to get that striker to come in and immediately score 15 plus goals for you in all competitions if necessary. That is what, in my opinion, Manchester United need. Is that what Manchester United going to get? That's kind of a different conversation. Now, we had a little bit of a mix of hot takes, guys. There was so many more, but a lot of them I think was quite similar. A lot of them was mentioning Bruno and maybe the necessity of Manchester United buying a midfielder instead of a striker. But for me, the one that takes the award of the biggest hot take has to be replacing Bruno with Jack Grealish, because I don't know. I don't know what world you're living in. Personally, I would never do that. I would never ever do that. But like I said, let me know your thoughts down below. What is the wildest hot takes that you have for Manchester United in this summer transfer window? And I'm talking like something like Manchester United should sack Ruben Amorim before the season starts. That is a hot take. I'm not saying it's my hot take, but it's a hot take that I've heard. Let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new here.